Could the Miami Heat trade Terry Rozier to the Sacramento Kings for a former lottery pick in Devin Carter? We're going to talk about that on today's show. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. And before we really get into anything here, we know that this is the number one priority for Miami. Not trading for Devin Carter, but getting rid of Terry Rozier. He is making $26.6 million this season on an expiring contract. And we know Miami is looking to move off of that to get underneath the luxury tax and to also get a player that can actually impact this roster in a positive way. And to get underneath the luxury tax, it needs to happen before the end of the regular season in mid-April, so that he'd have a long time to do this. Now, they are $1.4 million over the luxury tax. So as we have said on other videos in the past revolving Rozier, if you trade him away at 26.6, if you want to get underneath the luxury tax, you have to take in $1.5 million less, which then takes you to $25.1 million in total salary. So when you're eyeing Rozier trades, keep an eye on that salary amount, 25.1. Miami will not want to go past that threshold, and as we'll get into Devin Carter here, he is way under that. But we know Rozier should be traded. We know that we want to trade Terry Rozier, so let's get the good vibes flowing. Want the Heat to trade Terry Rozier? Like the video. Let's get those likes up. Get over 200 on today's show. That should be the goal. Anyway, when it comes to Devin Carter, earlier in this offseason, we contemplated a potential blockbuster trade on draft night where Miami potentially would trade a first-round pick, number 20th overall, and salary for both Malik Monk and Devin Carter. Well, that's probably not going to happen at this point, obviously, but apparently Devin Carter is still on the trade market. Matt George, who covers the Kings in Sacramento, tweeted out saying that on the Kings Russell Westbrook front, because there's a lot of smoke between Russ and Sacramento. Both parties have been talking about it and have mutual free agency interests. That's well known. But from what he gathers, the Kings are still looking to move a player like Devin Carter or Malik Monk before they can inevitably sign Russell Westbrook. This is very fascinating because I am not sure why the Kings would want to get rid of Monk or Carter to bring in Russ because, well, those two I would both rather have them on my roster in a vacuum than Russell Westbrook. I will say Malik Monk's on a multi-year deal, so I could understand it if you want to get rid of that contract. But getting rid of Devin Carter in favor of Russell Westbrook makes no sense. And Malik Monk, at this point, makes no sense for Miami after you made the Norman Powell trade. I think Norman Powell is just a better version of Malik Monk. But I still do want Devin Carter. And if you've watched our content for a while, you would know how much I have had my eye on Devin Carter. You can take it back before the NBA draft in 2024 when I had Devin Carter number 2 on my big board list for Miami, just trailing Jared McCain. You see the guy Miami actually drafted number 3 in Kel'el Ware. By the way, all 5 of these guys look like pretty solid young players. But I also have said it on other videos in the past how much I would be willing to take the flyer on Devin Carter to get him with the Miami Heat. Now, there is an issue, a negative, if you will, on Devin Carter. He missed most of last season. He only appeared in just over 30 games due to a shoulder injury. That really put him behind the 8 ball at the beginning of last season. It's also a shoulder injury that has given him some issues this offseason as well. He reportedly dealt with some discomfort during NBA Summer League. With that being said, he still played at a very high level and actually had the Sacramento Kings in the Summer League championship game against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, the Hornets did win, but they still made it all the way to the end. To me, Devin Carter just fits exactly what Miami is building. The Heat have gone from one of the oldest rosters in the NBA to now one of the youngest. The oldest player on their roster is Norman Powell at age 32. Devin Carter, a first-round pick from a year ago, is just turning 24 during this upcoming NBA season. He's long, he's athletic, he plays on both sides of the ball. We know Miami was interested in him before the 24 NBA draft. Couldn't take him as he went ahead of the Heat's pick at 15 to the Sacramento Kings. But with him potentially on the outs, if he's available on the trade market, I am pounding the table trying to get Miami to find a way to trade for Devin Carter. Fits this backcourt, fits the youth movement. I would love to bring in Devin Carter. But you be the GM for me. Are you interested in a potential Devin Carter trade? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Pin comment on today's show. So if you get with you tab ad break, scroll down, let it play. It answers today's question. When I am really starting to look at Devin Carter, my initial player comparison for Devin coming out of Providence last season was Josh Hart, a guard version who could handle the ball a little bit better. But the more I was thinking about how he played and watching the NBA playoffs this year, I think Alex Caruso is maybe more of a better comparison. And I know it's a little aggressive considering Caruso is a top 5 defender potentially on the ball on the perimeter in the entire NBA, and he was very huge and critical to the Thunder winning a championship. But I see the vision. You look at just the similar profiles and size. Caruso's a couple inches taller, but Carter's got a couple inches on him in terms of his wingspan, a 6'8 wingspan compared to Caruso's 6'6 wingspan. But Carter's built out a little bit better as well. 8 pounds heavier. Both guys have a similar build. And their roles on the basketball court just are so similar to me as well. And when you look at why I choose this comparison, both players are long. Both players are high-level defenders. That's their calling card. At this point, we know Devin Carter. If he's going to make it in the NBA, it's going to be primarily because of his defense rather than his on-ball and offensive ability. High-level, lengthy defenders. But both of them do have on-ball versatility on the offensive end. Devin Carter played point guard for Providence. Alex Caruso played point guard for Texas A&M and did a little bit of on-ball work for the Thunder and for other stops in the past as well, whether it was with the Bulls or the New Orleans, no, not New Orleans Pelicans, the Los Angeles Lakers. Getting my teams mixed up there. But I think Devin Carter can do the same exact thing. You actually look at his usage percentage last season by play type, 34% was spot up. He was off the ball a lot. That is what Alex Caruso's number 1 usage rate play type was. Transition for Carter was number 2 at 21.5%. But here's the difference between Caruso and Devin Carter. Devin Carter, 18.4% usage rate as the pick and roll ball handler. Alex Caruso was actually under 8% in that mark. So he is someone who the Kings felt comfortable with creating in the pick and roll at times. And we know he has the comfortability to do that as well based off his film and his breakdown coming out of Providence when he was the Big East Player of the Year. ISO 8.2%. The point is, he can play in so many different roles. You want him to play off ball? He can. You want him to play in the dunker spot as a smaller guard? He can. You want him to lead the handling and lead a pick and roll? He can. I wouldn't probably suggest it to be your lead point guard long term, but it's certainly something he is capable of doing. So his versatility, both defensively and offensively, is something that draws me to him quite a bit. If you want more on the Miami Heat, this is the channel for you. We're in the dog days of the offseason, but we're 2 months away from the preseason. So subscribe today for daily Miami Heat content, and when the preseason rolls around, we'll have you covered there. We'll be going live for preseason watch parties, and you know we go live during the regular season as well. Join the channel now. Devin Carter did not have the biggest rookie year. There's no debating that, only playing in about 30 games, 36 to be exact, and only played 11 minutes per game as well. He had a limited role. Like, when he started to really get some playing time for Sacramento, that was after they traded for Zach LaVine. So they had Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis. Like, it's just hard for Carter to find a lot of on-ball reps to where he'd be getting used a lot and getting a lot of playing time, especially with Keon Ellis being there as well, a player that Sacramento is very high on. To me, Devin Carter deserves an expanded role. He deserves an opportunity to showcase his two-way ability. I had Devin Carter as my 10th player on my 2024 NBA draft big board. I was high on him. I thought he was a great fit in Miami at 15. Obviously didn't happen because he went a couple picks higher. But I really liked Devin Carter. He just can bring so much to the table. And we know Miami really values the ability to be portable in terms of his role and what he can do off-ball, on-ball defensively. And his mentality and toughness is something Miami would really like as well. By the way, last season, as a rookie, Devin Carter was in the 78th percentile in deflections. Eric Spoelstra, who prides himself on having a top 10 defense year in, year out in Miami, well, Devin Carter will only be able to add to that because of his ability to defend at the point of attack and be able to switch due to that 6'8" wingspan and his unbelievable vertical as well, which was about 40 and a half, 42 inches last year. It was top of the 2024 NBA draft. Like, I'm just envisioning a potential Davion Mitchell, Devin Carter duo in the backcourt defensively if the Heat need to stop late in a game. And boy, is it menacing. Also factor in Bam Adebayo and Kel'el Ware setting on the back end. My, oh my, talk about a defensive unit. Rounding out the show here in a second, but I did want to showcase this hat because it is on sale. It was $38, typo for me, now $28. Take advantage right now, chatsports.com/Heat hat sale. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Go grab yours now because this sale is not going to be here for a long time. $10 off. Let's round out the show by looking at what a Devin Carter trade could actually look like. Because to me, there's a couple that you'd have to look. There's two options. Devin Carter is still on a rookie deal making $4.9 million. So in the early, we talked about maybe trading Rozier for Carter. Well, that salary is so different, and there's no other salary Sacramento would probably trade unless they did Malik Monk and Carter for Rozier, which to me makes no sense for Miami, because why do you want Malik Monk? Maybe you can reroute Malik Monk, sure, but I don't think Sacramento wants to trade both Carter and Monk. It's just one or the other. So you either have to send a lower salary or you have to make it a three-team deal where Rozier is rerouted to a different team. So let's look at two trade ideas that I have for Devin Carter. Here's number one. Heat get Devin Carter. The Kings get Haywood Highsmith. That's it. No picks involved. And some people might be wondering, well, why would the Kings do this? Well, it's clear that they want to free up a logjam in their backcourt by moving on from Devin Carter, and they can sign Russell Westbrook, and they also get an expiring $5 million contract in Haywood Highsmith, who fills a need for Sacramento as an off-the-bench 3-and-D wing. And if you're Miami, I think Haywood Highsmith is expensive. Or not expensive. Expendable is the word I was looking for. You don't need Haywood Highsmith if you acquire Devin Carter. I would make the argument you don't need him now. Now, I would still keep him. He's still a very valuable player. Maybe you flip him at the deadline for multiple second-round picks or a first-rounder if he has a really good season and the Heat are struggling a little bit. But Miami is continuing to go young. And with players like Simone Fontecchio coming into the fold, Kashad Johnson, Paul Larson, Jovic, Jaquez, Andrew Wiggins still on the roster. Like, those are a lot of players that are going to fight for playing time, and I didn't even mention Haywood Highsmith. So if you keep Haywood, there's a lot of players fighting for minutes, and it might kind of hinder the development of a player like Jaime or Paul Larson. So to me, if you're trying to acquire a backcourt guy like Carter, I would absolutely be willing to trade Haywood Highsmith. Here is the second Devin Carter trade, and this is the one that really intrigues me. A three-team deal with Utah and Sacramento. The Heat get Devin Carter and Jusuf Nurkic. The Kings get Kashad Johnson and a 2026 second-round pick, and the Utah Jazz get Terry Rozier. There's a lot to break down here. So why would the Jazz do this? Well, they have the ability to absorb Rozier's contract. Nurkic is a player that is going to be not really getting a lot of playing time because they have, obviously, Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen. They have Kyle Filipowski. So why pay Nurkic $19.9 million if he's not going to play? They can take in a larger expiring, and they could use that money in free agency coming off the books, well, next off season. And for the Kings, they get a second-round pick and a young forward in Kashad Johnson, and they free up a roster spot in Devin Carter. They save a couple $1 million because of Kashad Johnson's contract. So you save $2.9 million, you get a second-round pick, and then you could use that money you saved on making this trade for Sacramento to then sign Russell Westbrook, which is something they clearly want to do. And then from Miami's perspective, that just makes all the sense in the world, right? You're not taking up that final roster spot. You're sending two players out. You're getting two players in return. You get a young guy in Devin Carter. Plus, you solve the backup center issue. You don't have a backup center right now. Your front court is Bam Adebayo, Kel'el Ware, Nikola Jovic. But Jovic shouldn't be used as a backup center. I don't want to really use Bam at the 5 that much anymore, if we're going to be completely honest. So why not get a traditional backup center to Kalal Ware? Yusuf Nurkic, for all of his issues, would be able to do that. You save $4.2 million against the cap with Carter and Nurkic coming in at about 23, 24 mil. You're sending out 28. So you get underneath the luxury tax. You keep a pretty solidly sized expiring contract in Yusuf Nurkic at 19.9 mil. So you keep the expiring, you get a young backcourt guy, you get a backup center, and all you got to do is ship out Kashad Johnson and a second-round pick alongside Terry Rozier. If this is something that would be on the table, I don't know how you couldn't try to finalize that and explore this potentially getting done. So let me know your thoughts. I want to know which trade you would prefer if you would do a Devin Carter deal. Would it be the one where you just swap Haywood Highsmith for Devin Carter? By the way, that would save you $700K, so it wouldn't get you underneath the luxury tax, but it would save you money. Or would it be number 2, where you get Devin Carter and Yusuf Nurkic while giving up a second, Terry Rozier and Kashad Johnson? Type 1 if you prefer Highsmith for Carter. Type 2 if you prefer this trade. I mean, if you can make number 2 happen, that would just be a home run deal in my opinion. For all the reasons that I just laid out for y'all about saving money, getting a young guy backup center, and keeping an expiring contract. Like, you'd also still have an open roster spot to help keep things flexible during the season if you need to sign someone or take back extra player in a trade if you're sending out an Andrew Wiggins or someone else. Like, to me, I think this is just the best of both worlds for Miami. You get so much young talent in Carter. You get a backup center and you save money. Like, it just is a home run, in my opinion. So if Miami can even try to bring this up and make it happen, I don't know why they wouldn't. That'll do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody sticking around and hanging with us here on this episode of the Heat Report. If you want more daily content around this basketball team, this is the channel for you. Subscribe today.